lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.
This one comes from Ryan. He writes in and says, Beyond. Dear Greg, Colin, and Marte, I hear Colin talk often about his excitement for all these indie games coming out, and each time I sigh and shake my head. While independent games can be great, I feel like they are often unfairly given too much leniency in quality and content, since they are quote-unquote indies and are therefore fighting against the man, i.e. big publishers. They are given this skin of tortured artists who make games for the craft and not to be fun. To solidify my view, one must only watch Indie Games the movie. The attitude and mentality of the developers shown were so off-putting that I either put the games down for good or made the decision not to buy them. After hearing Phil Fish state that he would quote-unquote kill himself if his game didn't sell, I uninstalled the game and vowed to stay away from his games forever. I don't want the life of someone in my hands like that. Luckily, he himself made that easy by no longer developing games. I wish people would just talk about the games they love and what they are looking forward to and move away from the indie moniker, because that phrase has all the angsty hipster smell that just hangs around in the air and won't go away. I can't be the only one. Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I think I agree with you that, and we've talked about this in the past. We talked about this at IGN when we used to have downloadable game of the year and downloadable PSN list and a PS3 list for top 25. I agree that we need to get to a place where the games are judged based on being games. That said, there are indie games, so-called indie games, that are way better than their retail counterparts. Yeah. And I don't agree that indie games get a pass at all. I actually think it's exact opposite. I think they have to do new and different things to get attention. And often the indie games that do get attention for doing new and different things well get that attention because the games are good. The best game of last year to me was Shovel Knight. That's a game that was kickstarted and made by a small group of guys. So I don't think I think it's people think it's hipster or whatever. That's fine. I don't really care. It's a matter of, this is where the special stuff's happening right now, is in that space. I mean, it is. But the point is that we should be open-minded to play everything. If you're closed-minded, it's a pretty closed-minded point of view to say, I'm not going to play indie games. Yeah, that's like me saying like I'm not closed-minded at all. I play all sorts of stuff. I play Call of Duty every year. I'm like the most unclosed-minded indie game fan ever. In that respect, I think, so it's not like you can't play everything, but it's just to say that this is where gaming is and kind of the way it's the echelons of gaming and how people talk about it and describe it right now. That's the way it is, because the only other way you can call an indie game is say, well, it's a like Child of Light's not an indie game. Ubisoft published that, one of the biggest publishers in the world, but it is a small game. It's a downloadable game. Like how do you describe and talk about those games in a way that makes sense? Small game, cheap game. I don't know.
I understand what he's saying, that the moniker has been ruined by. And these are his words, obviously. The moniker's been ruined by people who come out and say it and do whatever. That happens with everything, right? That a bad apple can spoil the bunch for you. But there's so many amazing independent developers, and when I meet Drinkbox and we hang out with them, right? Or I go see a Cappy game and talk to Nate. I'm not thinking oh, these guys are so indie. Yeah, they're into it. Well, they're just normal dudes who love video games and are making awesome games. And at no point talking to them have they ever been like, yeah, man, down with the man. Oh, they're so much cooler.
No, they're doing their own thing, and they're charting their own course. I mean, what people have to understand about a lot of these indie devs is that they didn't just stumble into this. Guys at Housemarque or Drinkbox or whatever can easily be leaders at AAA developers if they wanted to be. Yeah. It's just that they don't want to be. They want to make their games the way they want to make them, in ways that are commercially viable for smaller groups of people. Activision wouldn't make a game like Guacamelee any more than Drinkbox would make a game like Call of Duty. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. The beauty of the ecosystem that we live in and exist in right now is that there's all sorts of games and all sorts of different types of people making them, and there's nothing wrong with that. To say that you're going to swear off the indie game because of the way some people talk about it just means you're going to miss out on a lot of great games, and so I feel bad for you. Yeah, exactly. Don't be closed-minded. Play everything. Or, I mean, don't worry about the labels. Just play everything that's interesting to you. Yeah, absolutely. Don't say, I'm not going to play I only play AAA games. What does that even mean? Yeah, so if you only play AAA games, I'm sorry, because you're going to play about
Shovel Knight is an indie game. That's a AAA game because it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. It's like if you're waiting only for AAA games, you're going to be disappointed, especially in the coming years. You're going to be real disappointed. Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.